when I went up, I saw Villanova, Syracuse in the Dome. Probably, what was that, 2000? I think it was Andy's senior year, maybe. So 2009. 010, yeah.
Yeah.
And once I stepped foot in there, I was like, oh yeah. You kidding me?
I mean, that year they were like, they lost one game that year.
Yeah, they won that game. There was like 30,000. I think it broke the record for it. I was like a junior, sophomore in high school. I was just like, you kidding me? Like, this is everything I ever wanted.
Yeah.
So like I was ready to commit right there. I just Mike Hopkins as a guy is just like unbelievable when he recruits you. You really get to know him, and he does a great job just selling the program and everything that Boeheim has created. And then once you go up there and you see it, and then all the other stuff that comes along with Syracuse basketball and the 30,000 and all the fans and support it gets, like it was a no-brainer from there, and it was by far one of the best decisions I ever made.
So give me one of your best Hop stories, you know, either.
I used to love, and I know everyone has them. Like it would just depend what mood he was in when he decided to pick his phone up and give you a call. Because like you at one point he would be like, hey Trevor, how's it going? Oh, you still with that girl? How's your mom doing? And then the next time he'll call you like a couple of days later, and it's like completely different. He'll say like, you can't say the things that he probably said. Right. It was just it was just funny because you had no idea what hop you were gonna get when you decided to answer that phone. But I think that's what we all love about him. It's just that there's the personality that comes along with like the passion that he had, obviously, for the game of basketball in Syracuse. It just kind of just attracted you to it. It really did. And once you got up, at the time, GMAC was a GA my freshman year. So I was able to kind of form a cool relationship with him because he wasn't really an assistant coach at the time. So he kind of like filled that role of like that big brother for me right off the bat, and someone you could turn to for advice, and someone that kind of went through everything up there. So you were able to ask him anything on and off the court, and he was someone that was an unbelievable just basketball mind when it came to being on the court and workouts and how to push you to get better. So once you added him in there, once I got up to Syracuse, it was a match made in heaven for me, for sure.
Yeah, Hop and GMAC together. I mean, I just remember, you know, sometimes like in practice, you'd get like a different character. It'd be like a different character for Hop. Some days he'd be coming and he'd just be like, he'd walk in like this. He just walk by you and he'd just be like, man, fuck this motherfucker.
Yeah.
We're like, Hop, what's going on? He's like, man, he's like, today I'm ready to fucking go. Like, he's just, and then like you said, another day he come in, it just might be laid back and chill. It's just, his energy is always on 10 though. Like he's always, and it's always usually, for the most part, it's all positive energy, man. Like Hop was just a guy that you want to be around. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, he was. I mean, he did great things for that university, and happy to see where he's at now.
Absolutely. I mean, he deserves all the success for sure. So talk about your first year. You go up to Cuse, you're committed to Cuse. Your first year you get up there, you end up redshirt. But I mean, the talent that was already up there, I mean, it was yourself, Scoop, Dion, B. Trish, Michael Carter Williams. So like, a lot of dudes not gonna play anyway. It's not, you know what I mean? So talk about that, but that year, just like, you know, learning from those guys, practicing, and I know those guys already, so I know there's a lot of shit talking going on.
It was a hell of a first year, and definitely a group that I'm so happy that I came in at that time, because you had a guy like Scoop that was in his 5th year. You had Chris Joe, who was there and older. You had Fab, rest in peace to Fab, of course. You had just an unreal mix of characters on that team, and then you have me, Mike Carter Williams, and Rakeem as our freshmen. So it was definitely a hell of a group. I mean, I remember preseason, there was like 4 talented teams of 5 that were out there once you kind of split everyone up. I remember just going at it in preseason and pick up games with these guys. You wanted to win because you knew that if you lost, like you had to sit for like 3 games because like there's that many dudes like on this team. And I remember when practice started, I remember talking with my dad and my brother, who I'll talk to every day, and I'm like, man, there's a lot of guys up here. And I remember both of them were like, hey, like, you think you're gonna play this year? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, the guy that's in front of me is McDonald's All-American and Michael Carter-Williams. I'm like, last time I checked, I was like, only 2 guards play at one time with Syracuse. So I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, maybe you should look into redshirting. So I'm like, all right. I remember I talked to Hop about it, and like at time the coaches were also thinking about it. So I think when I brought it up, it was kind of like, all right, this guy, like, he gets it type of a thing. And I remember when I went up into Boeheim's office, and I knew exactly what he was going to say. And I felt like he wasn't sure how I was going to take it. But when he like started to break down, like, yeah, well, like, I don't know how much I'm going to play, like type of thing. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, he's like, well, I think we should redshirt you. And I'm like, I think that's a great idea. Yeah. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right, fine with me. And I think that was the first time he ever like legit like asked someone to redshirt. Because he was like, I don't know. He's like, I know they do it in football. He's like, I've never really done it in basketball, but I think it makes sense in your situation. And I'm like, absolutely it does. Because I knew like if I played that year, we would have been up 20 or down 20, and it's not something you want to be in. So I kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I kind of took it as like, all right, like, you get a free year here, like, let's take advantage of it. And you're a freshman next year, so let's just get better this year. So I was able to get with Ryan Cabellas in the weight room and just get bigger, stronger, faster, and then get ready for that next year. And so at the end of it, I traded a year where I wouldn't have played at all for a year where I played damn near 40 minutes, and we got to a Final Four. So it was a hell of a trade, and something that I would definitely do again.
So what do you think, like, on the court, just in those practices? Like, talk to me about, who was the biggest shit talker, and what did you really learn from like competing against those guys? You know what I mean? There's a couple of NBA guys in there.
So that year was unbelievable. Because so I was like the scout guy for every team that we played. So I was watching a lot of film. I was trying to be like the guard or the shooting guard on every team that we possibly played and every play that they would run. But it was a hell of a year. I covered Brandon Trish and Dion Waiters that whole entire year. And like the biggest thing that we worked on was like the stop and go. Like when someone's covering you and you stop. So I don't know how many times I got hit by Dion Waiters and Brandon Trish's shoulders every single practice, man.
Hop was hyping it up too, probably.
Oh my God. I'm like,
hit him.
Yeah, he's like, hit him. I'm like, Hop,
hit the fucking white guy. Hit the fucking white. Hop gonna say some shit like that.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like telling Dion, I'm like, how's it going, dude? I'm like, I can't fucking breathe. I'm like, and then I would like try and like duck out of the way. I think they got it once. I'm like, yeah, like, listen, I know we're working on this, but like, just relax. You don't need to fucking lay me out right now. But it was an awesome year. And like having those guys there to be in drills with and to compete with every single day was why that year was so important for me, because those guys were so talented. So to compete against them every single day was awesome. And then it was great if you had Scoop on your team and you were winning in anything, because he was definitely the biggest shit talker that team, or I don't know. He's probably up there, honestly. And
he's up there for sure.
He never stopped. He just kept
me
going.
Me and him are up there. Johnny Flynn is another guy. Johnny Flynn. He liked to get after it. So that's funny. So
that team was really, really talented. So it was, we definitely had some good practices.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, you're going into that next year. You're playing now. You guys go to the Final Four. What do you really remember about that team? Remember about that season? And was there like a turning point during that year where you guys were like, all right, we're fucking pretty good?
I mean, we played well in the Big East. I think we just had times. Like, I think the way that Brandon played that year, Mike Williams and CJ, I mean, James was like unbelievable. And then like
Fuck, those
that
names
was
that
like,
you just said, god damn.
yeah, like those guys just played so freaking well together. I think we knew we were pretty good when we went out. The first game was against San Diego State on a boat, which was my first game I ever played, which was out on a boat, which was pretty cool. And I think I just remember we just kind of bought into just how the 2-3 was supposed to be played, and San Diego State kind of really played right into it. And I think just James and CJ were able to take control, and Brandon as well. And I think after that, I think we kind of knew we had a good little crew and that we were a pretty talented team. But I mean, getting to that Big East tournament that year, being able to win a couple games, get to the Big East final. We lost to Louisville, but I think after that, you knew that you could play with anyone in the country and beat anyone in the country. So I believe we were a 4 seed, and then we just kind of got hot. And being on a talented Cuse team that really buys in to that 2-3 and rebounds. I mean, that is and we had the offense as well to go with it. So we're able just to get hot at the right time and play well. And when you do that at the end of the year, then good things are going to happen.
How good was that team defensively? Because I don't think, I mean, a lot of people understand how good you were defensively. Like coming in, we didn't drop off at the top. You know what I mean? You were getting just as many steals as those guys.
I think it was with Brandon. I think Brandon, that was his fourth year starting, fourth year playing that zone. So I think with Mike and I being able to have him, I think he was able to kind of really lead by example as well in terms of where to be, how to get there, just the effort I think it took to play it. Just because a lot of people just truly do not understand what it takes for that zone to be well and how to play it correctly, and just the amount of effort it takes. And to have Brandon as the senior, I think I learned pretty much everything about that zone from him. I remember just kind of getting like the first couple of games of that year, and you're going out there and you're like, all I wanted to do was just play well in that zone. And then you're just busting it back and forth. I remember being exhausted, and I think I made it to like one of the timeouts. So I made it like 4 minutes in, like one of my first games. And I remember being like, holy shit. I'm like, this is insane. This is like, I need to get in like really good shape. So that year definitely helped me understand what it was going to take to play a lot of minutes, and to play that zone well for the next 3 years, which I was able to do. I mean, I mean, having GMAC come back as well as the coach. I mean, he was the guy that was really good in the 2-3 zone and to teach it and coach it. So I think having him there was really big in terms of learning the angles. I think is the biggest thing of it.